I don't believe that I will be charged in any crime that relates to Russian collusion. I'm certainly guilty of bluffing unless they pass some law against bullshit.
That's Roger Stone.
If you bore the voters with long white papers and detailed positions on the issues, you guys won't come cover the candidates.
If you break a few laws.
But if you break a few laws...
Stone is one of the latest inductees in Robert Mueller's investigation. He's somehow not a Batman villain, but he's the closest thing we have in real life. He's known Trump for 40 years and is the proud owner of a giant black tattoo of Richard Nixon, a frequent pusher of conspiracy theories and self-described dirty trickster.
And I'm an agent provocateur.
Roger Stone was born in 1952 in Norwalk, Connecticut, to parents he reportedly described as middle-class, blue-collar Catholics. He spent his formative years in Lewisboro, New York, where his career in dirty tricks began. In first grade, long before Stone had Nixon's back, and very long before Nixon was on his, he supported John F. Kennedy. Quote, "I remember going through the cafeteria line and telling every kid that Nixon was in favor of school on Saturdays. It was my first political trick." It's unclear whether or not Stone thought first graders could vote, or if he knows lying is bad. By the time he was 12, Stone switched from staunch Democrat to hardcore conservative when a neighbor gave him Barry Goldwater's book, The Conscience of a Conservative. From there on out, Stone was an ardent supporter of conservatives in many forms.
This is the perfect Nixon bong.
In high school, Stone's dirty tricks continued. As a junior and vice president of the student government at his school in northern Westchester County, New York, Stone forced the president out and succeeded him. "I built alliances and put all my serious challengers on my ticket. Then I recruited the most unpopular guy in the school to run against me. You think that's mean? No, it's smart." After high school, Stone attended George Washington University in D.C., but he never graduated. Instead, he took a job working for the committee to get Nixon reelected. The young Republican was just 19 when his dirty tricks made it to the national stage and caught the eye of the Senate Watergate Committee. Stone used the pseudonym Jason Rainier and donated money to Nixon's rival on behalf of the Young Socialist Alliance. He then slipped the receipt to the New Hampshire press to show that Nixon's opponent was a puppet owned by the left. As Politico notes, Stone's most successful role as a Watergate trickster was a part he played running a 1972 creep operation called Sedan Chair 2, where he hired a Republican spy to infiltrate the McGovern campaign. After Nixon won and then resigned in the wake of Watergate, Stone believed that the man who would later adorn his back was completely innocent. He wrote, "Far from being a perpetrator, Nixon was a victim of a conspiracy by the judges, lawyers, press, and committee that relentlessly persecuted him." Stone made it through the scandal without a big mark, except for literally tattooing the central figure on his back voluntarily. After a short stint with Bob Dole, Stone stopped working directly with the candidates and co-founded the National Conservatives Political Action Committee in 1975. NCPAC was one of the first successful PACs. It raised funds and ran aggressive, negative campaign ads to oust prominent Democrats from Congress. Stone's slash-and-burn tactics, adopted by NCPAC, are still used by PACs to this day. In '76, Stone worked for Reagan's first failed presidential campaign as a youth director. The next year, at 24 years old, Stone was elected chairman of the Young Republicans. Stone signed on as the Northeast coordinator for Reagan's second bid at the White House, where he met Roy Cohn, the infamous Gotham Mafia lawyer, who would introduce him to the man he would soon shape into a prominent political figure, Donald J. Trump.
Well, how long have you and Donald Trump known each other?
I met him in 1979 when I came to New York to organize Governor Ronald Reagan's campaign for president.
Trump gave Stone $200,000 in checks made out to Reagan for president. After Reagan won the White House, Stone started one of Washington's first major lobbying firms with his old campaign manager, Paul Manafort, and Reagan campaign alumnus, Charles Black. The high-priced, half-lobbyist, half-political consulting firm, Black Manafort Stone, notoriously worked out on behalf of despots with a penchant for human rights abuses around the world. Naturally, this unscrupulous work earned the firm the fun nickname, the Torturer's Lobby. Stone said his firm lined up most of the dictators of the world that we could find, pro-Western dictators, of course. Black, Manafort, and Stone took money from dictators and tried to make the U.S. government serve the interests of those dictators. Stone's firm was essentially an architect of the swamp.
It is time to drain the swamp.
The firm also represented Stone's new friend, Donald J. Trump. In 1987, Stone urged his buddy to run for president. He organized campaign-like events in New Hampshire, where Trump made a speech about how the country was being kicked around and laughed at. Unfortunately for Stone, Trump didn't end up running and was allegedly using the platform as a way to publicize his upcoming book, The Art of the Deal.
I'm not looking to be a candidate. I'm not a candidate. I'm not running for office.
In 1996, Stone's career took a turn. He was forced to leave as senior consultant on Senator Bob Dole's presidential campaign after the National Enquirer revealed that Stone and his second wife posted ads and pictures looking for sex partners in a magazine called Local Swing Fever. The Stones were seeking exceptional muscular single men and were not seeking smokers or fats. Stone initially denied responsibility for the ads and went to great lengths doing so.
An exhaustive investigation now indicates that a domestic employee who I discharged for substance abuse on the second time that we learned that he had a drug problem is the perpetrator.
Years later, Stone admitted the ads were authentic and not a part of a widespread conspiracy by a domestic employee. Stone's image was seemingly tarnished after his swinger ads came to light. He was ousted from the spotlight and continued the rest of his career lurking behind the scenes, deep in the shadows, ready to double down on his dirty tricks. Throughout the 90s, Stone worked on behalf of Trump in a massive lobbying effort. Trump was afraid the casinos owned by a Native American tribe in the Catskills would undermine his Atlantic City casinos. So they turned to race baiting.
They don't look like Indians to me.
With Stone's guidance, Trump claimed that reservations had fallen under mob control and described the owners as cocaine traffickers. Stone crafted ads showing syringes and lines of cocaine underneath headlines like, "Drug dealing at Monticello?" and "Are these the new neighbors we want?" Because Trump and Stone never reported the ad spending as a lobbying effort, which state law requires, they were fined $250,000. In 1999, Stone helped pave the way for a George W. Bush presidency by imploding an entire party. Stone urged Pat Buchanan to run as a Reform Party candidate and then enlisted Trump to join the race and sabotage Buchanan's chances to ensure that a third-party candidate wouldn't cost Bush the election.
Well, Mr. Trump has said he'll make a decision at the end of February.
Critics questioned the seriousness of Trump's campaign, and many figured it was all a ploy to sell his books. But Stone refuted this claim, saying the bid wasn't a publicity stunt to plug his candidate's book while plugging his candidate's book.
And I think maybe early on, a lot of people thought that this might be some kind of publicity stunt for Mr. Trump to sell his next book. He has a book coming out in December.
It's unclear if Stone promised to plug Trump's book in return for the destruction of the Reform Party. After Trump derided Buchanan for being a Hitler lover who doesn't like the gays, his work was done. Buchanan received less than 0.5% of the vote, and Stone had successfully destroyed the Reform Party. Republicans now had no third-party threat, thus paving an easier route for a George W. Bush presidency. But it wasn't set in stone yet. As the Florida recount loomed, Stone had one more dirty trick up his sleeve to secure Bush's win. According to Stone, he put together a strategy to shut the recount down from a parked Winnebago in Miami-Dade County, Florida. Stone says he ordered Republican protesters to storm in and intimidate the people counting the votes. Stone clearly had made amends with the Republican Party, a party he had criticized in 1999 for these reasons.
I don't want to be part of a party that bashes immigrants or bashes gays or bashes African Americans.
In 2015, the Republican Party had apparently changed enough for Stone to hop back on.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some I assume are good people.
Stone worked on the Trump campaign as an advisor for about 2 months before he was either fired or quit, depending on who you believe. But it's the time Stone spent in the shadows that was crucial in getting the Donald to the White House. The two frequently talked on the phone weeks after Stone and the campaign parted ways.
We talk from time to time. We talk politics.
Stone was working in the dark until he took back the spotlight. In August of 2016, a few months before the election, Stone sent out a mysterious tweet about John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman. Trust me, it will soon be Podesta's time in the barrel. A few months later, in October, Stone again tweeted, Wednesday, Hillary Clinton is done. Hashtag WikiLeaks.
I actually have communicated with Assange. I believe the next tranche of his documents pertain to the Clinton Foundation.
WikiLeaks dropped thousands of private emails belonging to John Podesta.
The charge by the smoking gun that I colluded with a Russian hacker regarding the hacks of the DNC documents later released by WikiLeaks is demonstrably false.
In January of 2019, Roger Stone's dirty tricks had finally caught up to him. Stone was arrested and indicted on 7 criminal charges as part of Robert Mueller's investigation of the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election.
Are you preparing to be indicted?
I am prepared should that be the case.
After the FBI raided his Florida home, Stone claimed they used more force than the Navy SEALs did when they killed Osama bin Laden, the terrorist who was shot in the face and thrown into the ocean. Mueller's indictment showed a senior campaign official was directed by someone to contact Stone about WikiLeaks releases. Many believe that someone to be Donald J. Trump. Stone was charged with obstruction, making false statements, and witness tampering. Stone told the witness to do a Frank Pantangeli, which is a reference to a character in The Godfather Part 2 who lies before Congress.
I never knew no Godfather.
Mueller's indictment shows a link between WikiLeaks' efforts to damage Hillary Clinton and the Trump campaign's efforts to do the same. That link is clearly Roger Stone.
As I have always said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
The White House has since distanced itself from Trump's friend of 40 years.
This has nothing to do with the president, has nothing to do with the White House.
Stone invokes just about everything Nixon has said and done. Everything except what he told his aides in the wake of Watergate. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up that brings you down. Stone subscribes to a different set of thinking.
One of my best rules, deny everything, admit nothing, launch counterattack.
And now, Roger Stone is taking his own advice.
I will plead not guilty to these charges. I will defeat them in court.